This is Seafood Pao Fan. Wikipedia says Pao Fan means submerged rice, and this is basically a super comforting Singapore Chinese dish of rice in the most heartiest, delicious, it can be luxurious broth ever. Traditionally, this is a home cooked dish using whatever you need to use up in the fridge, but these days you can find pimped out versions of this with like lobster. But anyway, this is my go to version. It's so homely and comforting and easy, and the best thing on cold, rainy, maybe snowy, mood AF days. So let's go. The first thing you need to get working on is that delicious seafood broth. I'm going to be using some chicken in mine as well to give it that extra wholesome flavor. I have here some scrap chicken parts and I'm parboiling them first. Basically, you're just blanching them in boiling water and just until you see this sort of scum coming off and the blood is cooked off, take it out of the water. This step gives you a clearer tasting broth. It is optional though, but it's a quick extra step, so I would just do it. And then to my soup pot, I'm adding some oil, and once it's hot, add prawn heads and shells. I have a lot of prawn heads here instead, which has a lot more flavor, but you can most definitely include the shells too. Stir fry the prawn heads and shells in the oil, and you want to stir fry until all of the liquid from the prawn heads evaporate. This is a super important step. Do this and you will not have a fishy broth. A good indicator for when you know it's ready is when your kitchen starts smelling like grilled prawns. You might also get some charring on your prawn heads too. This is perfectly fine, no worries. So once you have that, add back the parboiled chicken. This is ikan bilis or dried anchovies. You want to give them a quick rinse under water first. A whole onion sliced in half. Some cloves of garlic lightly mashed with the back of the knife, and finally some ginger chunks. And then pour in water. Stir all of that to combine, and you want to kind of scrape the bottom of the pot to get those caramelized prawn bits mixed in with everything, and then let this come to a boil. Once it boils, turn the heat down to very, very low, and you want to let this simmer for about 1 hour or so. So while that is simmering away, make the rest of the dish. You want to get some oil in a pan and let it get all nice and hot. These are cooked rice left overnight in the fridge so it's more dry. Once the oil is hot and you know it's ready when you dip a wooden chopstick or a skewer stick in it, and bubbles will start to come off like this. And then gently pour the rice in. It's okay if the rice is kind of sticking like that. It will break up in the oil itself. And then give the oil a swirl just to break up all the rice bits. And then leave this alone to cook and brown. You can use freshly made rice as well. Just take note that it's got more moisture in it, so you might get oil splatters, so be careful. You can see the rice get all nice and brown and crisping up. I like to leave mine just a little bit longer and give it a little bit more of a darker brown because I love it extra crispy. Anyway, once the Rice Krispies are done, take it out of the oil and drain it on some paper towels and keep that to one side. Okay, next we're just using the same pan for this, okay? Because save oil, save time, save pan efficiency. We're going to be making the puffy egg floss. Beat some eggs, and I'm not going to season my eggs, but you can with some salt and pepper if you want to. And once the oil is hot, use the wooden chopstick trick again, and this is the fun part. You want to gently stir the oil in one direction, and while you're swirling the oil, slowly pour in the eggs. You see what's happening here? It's creating a lot of these super puffy, stringy eggs. Let the eggs cook and take it out of the heat once it's all nice and golden brown. I also like to drain the eggs on some paper towels too. And the yummy puffy egg floss is all done. Easy. This is low-key my favorite part of Pao Fan, to be honest. Next, I'm going to be making some super simple fried fish, and I love having fried fish with this. These are some sliced Spanish mackerel or a batang fish. You can use whatever fish you got, even salmon works for this. Give it a very simple seasoning of just salt and pepper. And then you want to massage the fish with the seasoning real quick. And then lightly coat each piece of fish with corn flour. This is going to make this all nice and crispy and also avoid some terrifying oil splatters when you fry them. So again, same pan because efficiency will add more oil if you need. Same thing, you want to let it get all nice and hot again and again. Use the wooden chopstick trick. Ooh, bubbly. And then carefully place the fish slices in the hot oil and fry until crispy and golden. Do not overcrowd the pot. If necessary, cook the fish slices in a few batches. Fish cooks really quickly, so if your slices are about this size, then it cooks in just 5 minutes. Once the fish slices are crispy and has a nice color to them, remove and also drain on some paper towels. Once you're all done with the frying and about 1 hour since we left the seafood broth simmering, come back to it and this is what we've got. It smells so good. Then remove all of the prawn heads and chicken bits. Now if you want a clearer soup, then you can strain the broth, but I don't mind some bits of prawn hanging around, so I just use my slotted spoon for this. Once you've removed it all, give it a taste test and season this with some salt. Prawns make the broth so deliciously sweet, so you need just a smidge of sugar to just bring out that sweetness even more. And your seafood broth is done. I'm going to be cooking some prawns in the broth as well. You can use any seafood of choice. Some hawker stalls flex hard and use lobsters for Pao Fan, okay, fancy. And then I'm going to boil some bok choy in the broth as well because veggies are important, okay? And our Pao Fan is ready to serve. Okay, assembly time. Add some rice to a bowl and then add my delicious seafood toppings of the boiled prawns, the crispy fried fish, and then pour over that delicious seafood broth. Next is my favorite puffy egg floss, the mandatory vegetables, and finally that last final touch of delicious crispy rice. And our super hearty ultimate comfort food of Seafood Pao Fan is all done. I like to serve Seafood Pao Fan with a chili soy sauce dip on the side. If you love this recipe and you have some leftover seafood broth, then make sure you make this Singapore Hokkien Mee recipe next.